guess the weatherman hasn't looked at the calendar today. It's like 26 degrees and super humid out. A day like that this time of year is definitely not normal, so I had to find some kind of excuse to get out for a little ride here. And my excuse was oil filters. Went and picked up an oil filter for the other 3 Kawasaki's in the garage. They haven't really put on the miles to justify an oil change, but I mean, got to do at least one a year, right? Just because it's 26 degrees right now doesn't mean it's not going to be below zero in a little while. So now we've got our filters. No use just turning around and heading straight home. Might as well make some kind of ride out of it, right? I had a little bit of vacation left over. Didn't have any real major use for it, so I just picked these 2 dates, Monday and a Tuesday. What do you know? Turns out to be super warm and a very nice day. At least on Monday anyway. I think tomorrow's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little wetter. That's alright, I'm sure I can find something to do indoors. Look at that fuel gauge, it's reading full. I can't believe that thing works. I don't remember that thing ever working, even when I was, riding this thing around at 17. And then the shape it was in when I took it apart and pulled it out of the tank this year. It's just frightening the amount of garbage that was stuck to it and all caked up with rust. A little bit of cleaning and a slight wire modification, and it seems to be working. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't know if I'd really trust it a lot, but the tank is full and it says full. It gradually works its way down as the gas drops. I just don't, let's just say I'm still glad that this bike has reserve, I wouldn't want to only have to rely on that gauge. If I did, I'd still be relying on the trip meter more than anything. Lately, though, I'm just using the trip meter to keep track of how many kilometers I put on it since the engine went back together. And, well, not only the engine, I guess just about every piece of this thing from the swing arm forward. It's strange to see the leaves so far along, changing colors, and be so damn hot out today. Uh-oh. And if you take a quick look at this bike, you might think, oh, it's a cruiser, but it don't ride like no cruiser. Yes, I understand it's almost 40 years old and all that, but it is just not sprung the same as a cruiser. It's not really meant for the same type of riding. It's a fair bit stiffer. Front forks are very strange that way. It's pretty stiff to the point of, almost being harsh over bumps, see, like that. But in some situations, it's still very easy to bottom them out. I think that's going to be a good reason to put progressive springs on the menu for next year. Still look at all those other issues as minor details for now, because just the fact that I can get out and ride this thing this year is a kind of a shock. I wish I would have had the time and motivation to actually record the process of fixing this thing. If that were the case, though, I wouldn't even be half finished right now, because filming things takes more time. I'm just the type of person that I have no patience whenever I get into something like this. That's kind of why I was a bit hesitant to actually bring the bike home and get started on this project, because I knew once I got into it, I just not want to put it down until I seen progress, until I had it running. And that didn't seem like, a big deal in the beginning, because in the beginning it was just supposed to be some minor things. I already had the carburetors rebuilt, so I thought I'd just slap some new carbs on there, flush and seal the fuel tank, and, some minor stuff, get the brakes working again, and we'd be back in business. But anyway, I'm sure I'm repeating myself on this, but yeah, didn't go as planned, we'll say. bike really could have used a 6th gear. I remember thinking that years ago when I used to ride it, but now I really notice it. When you're doing a lot of this stuff, just cruising through towns or slower in back roads, the gearing is actually fine, but once you get the speed up to, you know, highway speeds, that's when you really notice it. Well, there it is. 400 kilometers. It's crazy. I put 400 kilometers on this bike since I got it going again. If it wasn't for the fall ride I just finished, it would definitely be in the lead for most kilometers lately. Looks like the pumpkin patch has been picked pretty bare. One thing I've been realizing lately is the maintenance that 4 motorcycles require is starting to pile up. You just start to notice all the little things. Something as simple as, like, my ZX-10 could use a chain cleaning and adjustment. And that's not a big deal, but then, you know, you got the KLX that's got a fork seal that's been starting to seep for a while now, so really that should be changed. And up until recently, Tracy's 400 needed the clutch looked at. I finally got on that. Took a break from working on this thing to get that done. I mean, the list of things that this thing could use is pretty well endless. It's like the more bikes I've got access to, just the more time I've got to spend wrenching on them. Funny, I've already been out riding with this thing in this area at least once, maybe twice before this. It's mostly just because it's not terribly far from home, so don't want to risk going too far. But I must say, at over 400 kilometers in, I'm starting to trust it a little bit more every day. It's starting to get to the point where it's just as likely to break down at any given moment as any other bike that I have. Except maybe Tracy's. I wouldn't expect Tracy's to break down yet. But who knows, right? Stranger things have definitely happened. Stop for a little rest here to give my butt a break. Man, I wish it could be fall year round. And I know this 26-degree weather is not normal, and I'd be fine if it was not 26 degrees. I'd gladly take like even 15 degrees every day, all year. Every time I say that, people are like, well, you know, I'd rather 20, or, well, you're just getting greedy now, right? You gotta understand that we spend weeks at a time in the winter at minus 30 or more. So if you're talking about getting rid of all that, you gotta give a little, right? So a daytime high of 15 degrees, there's nothing wrong with that. You can easily learn to live with that. It's like permanent hoodie weather. Most people would love that. I think the number one thing I have to learn to do with this bike is learn to just cruise with it. After you spend a lot of time riding sport bikes, even just going out for, you know, a light cruise on a sport bike still turns into you doing way more than the speed limit. It's just the nature of the beast, right? Fast does not seem fast on a sport bike. So then I get on this, and I mean, I'm not doing anywhere near those speeds, but still find myself speeding and going faster than I need to. I have to get used to just, you know, going somewhere closer to the speed limit, just enjoying the ride more than anything. So anyway, I'm sure I've bored enough of you for long enough now. I'll continue slowing down and trying to learn to enjoy the ride, and you guys can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Check out all the links in the description, and come back and check out the next one.